Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. We're all live. Thanks for hanging out with us. Topic Thunder coming to you 22 minutes late, 23 minutes. Hey, it's 7:23. How about that? Yeah, I don't know how that stuff happens, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I get
into my little office area, my studio that I've got here in my house. And I sit down with 20 minutes to spare before the show starts. And I go to log into Restream and I can't fucking log in. And here we are 40 minutes later. I'm on a different browser than I was before because Google Chrome won't let me log the fuck in. And now I'm on Safari and it's telling me Safari browser support is limited. So I don't know what is going to go out and what isn't going to go out. This is a shit show, Brooks.
From the start. And the funny thing is I'm able to log in. A little behind the scenes for everybody. Ben kind of runs the board back there in addition to providing the expert commentary and his knowledge with the show. I can log in to that end of our little software here. He can't, despite confirming the password not once, not twice, but thrice. It's the weirdest thing. So again, welcome. Sorry about the delay. It's Topic Thunder, everybody.
My working theory on this is this. We talk a lot about Russian hackers on this show. And it's my theory that we have been hacked by Russian hackers.
Well, talk about jumping right into it. Pour yourselves a drink, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. We are going to talk about our good friends over in Russia. It's going to be right off the bat, but I really wanted to make a very important, very special announcement right here now that we're all together. A couple of weeks back, we had a kind of just an off-the-cuff almost idea to kind of take a collection, put the basket out for the good people of New Orleans, and we, as a collective, the Topic Thunder listening audience, collected $280 US, which, bravo, in and of itself, that's a lot of money. And we decided that we were going to share that money and that donation to the Cajun Navy effort, which again is just literally just a group of citizens. A lot of them are like boatsmen, or I think there's a lot of like first responders too that just happen to have like fishing boats that are going out there and helping people get off their roofs because of the flooding, and providing shelter and supplies, and it's a worthwhile cause, right? Well, we happen to actually have a sponsor here, Delta XA, which you're going to hear from later on here. And he sent a message over to our producer and said he was going to match whatever donation came through here on Topic Thunder. Ladies and gentlemen, I got the confirmation email the other day. He matched $280. We raised over $600, almost $600.
That's just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. This was just our first venture into something like this. As this fucking crazy internet saloon, as we call it, continues to grow, and we grow every single week. That this is just the first time. We'll talk about this, down the road, and we'll say, remember the first time we did a donation drive and we raised over $600, and we're going to be like blowing that away soon. So yes, but thank you so much for everyone that contributed.
It was very cool, very touching, and the power of a community kind of getting together and deciding to do something good, right? So don't ever be said that this podcast never amounted to anything, because the $560 that went to the Cajun Navy relief effort, I'm sure silently was appreciated, and that's the way we prefer it right here. But hey, folks, so to celebrate such an achievement, I think we should all kind of toast ourselves here. And what I have right now is actually been a gift. It's this is a single pot Irish whiskey from Powers. Because of the technical difficulties here, I don't think Ben's able to share the screen. I think I am, which is going to be weird. And even Ben was like, "Is that going to be a lot for you?" And yeah, so I'll be honest with you right now, Ben. That's a lot for me.
no chance of being able to host this show and run the board. You have zero chance of that. But
This is proving very difficult, especially at this late hour where in furious IET fashion was consuming probably a little bit too much of this 92 proof Irish whiskey prior to go live 3, 2, 1. So this is and I'm
had you down in the dumps.
Yeah, kind of nurse the pain somehow, right? Boy, that sounds terrible. Oh,
Drink.
I'll tell you, how about the meetings I'll have on Tuesday night at a local high school gymnasium after hours soon. Whoosh. But hey, Irish whiskey, it's a very fine. It's a gift from my friends Tracy and Charlie. It's a very delightful. It has a very nice bouquet. They'll say that, so it has some nice flowery kind of like there's some fruit in there, and then there's the punch of Irish whiskey, which you deserve. So cheers to everybody in the Topic Thunder world that contributed to the Cajun Navy. And folks, we are talking about hacking. Maybe we got hacked, maybe, but I'll tell you about a group that absolutely for sure got hacked. And this is going to get weird because we've talked about the election, right, being hacked. We've talked about Florida reservoirs being hacked. Here's an Iowa grain co-op that got caught up in a $5.9 million ransomware attack.
Sorry, a what now?
A farm co-op.
What the hell? All right, get into this because I can't even imagine what they would want to do with this.
This is interesting, right? And this goes to show you like how people play the game, and we're not prepared for this game, or at least we're not prepared for this game. So
Clearly,
this is
us personally, we are not ready for anybody to hack us.
Apparently not. Jesus, it's 2 password resets, the same password, nothing worked. It's just crazy. But hey, I guess we'll be coming to you live from our cells in Russia sometime next week, recanting everything with like being Vladimir Putin is one of the greatest world leaders ever, with just some very menacing men standing behind us.
Let me just make it very clear. Put this out on the air. If for some reason in the next week there is a news report that I fell out of a window with a stab wound, I promise you I didn't stab myself before I jumped out the window. Promise.
And if I was going to kill myself, that would not be the way that I want to do it either. So you just get it out there. I'm not jumping. Let's put it like that. That's way too much for me. But speaking of our good friends over in that large swath of Asia, this is from the Washington Post. Russian hackers leveled a ransomware attack on an Iowa farming co-op and demanded $5.9 million to unlock the computer networks used to keep food supply chains and feeding schedules on track for millions of chickens, hogs, and cattle. You see where this is going?
Oh, it makes sense. Okay.
Fort Dodge-based New Cooperative, a member-owned alliance of farmers that sells corn and soy products, contained the breach and developed a workaround to continue accepting grain shipments and distributing feed, a person close to the company told the Post, speaking on the condition of the all-important anonymity, because that's a mea culpa. We fucked up and we jeopardized a lot of people's food. But the co-op took its computer network offline to isolate the incursion, the person said, and shuttered its soil mapping software, a master control system that optimizes irrigation and fertilization as a precaution. Yeah, we don't think about the game, and this is not symmetrical warfare, right? This is what they literally call asymmetrical warfare, that it's coming from places that you don't think, and traditionally we don't think an attack would come from.
That's so smart. And that just shows you these guys really are 3-4 steps ahead of us when it comes to this stuff. Like, there was no chance that this co-op ever thought in a million years they would get a ransomware attack. Where just why? But then you think about it and now you realize why, right? Because if you can affect the food supply, you affect millions of people. I mean,
and this isn't really like this is kind of peanuts, right? Right? Because if they really wanted to do some damage,
no, it's grain.
Grains of sand, grains of Russian sand in our eye. But this is the poking, right? This is, where's the soft spot? Where can we get in? Where can we? Oh yeah, we set a ransomware, but what if that's not even the game? What if they put something else in there that we haven't discovered yet? That like, yeah, the ransomware was just a showy, flashy thing they expected to get caught. What if there was something buried in that we have no idea? And once like something happens, like somebody in Macedonia clicks a button, and there goes like a whole bunch more than just a little kind of isolated co-op in Iowa, but it's rural fucking America right there, right? It's Iowa.
It is eye-opening, if for no other reason that it is, again, like you said before, another avenue that we didn't think of, and it just goes to show you we are playing catch up to them, right? Like throughout this whole thing, when this whole silent war, this cyber war, if you will, that we're having with Russia, is they are many steps ahead of us, and we are constantly playing catch up and trying to figure out, after they've already done something, how it happened. They are way ahead of us on this, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
It's a great comment by Billy Wag. It is like a Cobra plot.
By the way, he put TM. He even had the trademark in there. That's
yeah. The man's a professional. Come on,
right.
Come on.
I know.
But seriously, it's like somebody's sitting there going, they would never figure out a way to mess with the weather. Destro, I give to you the weather dominator. All that fun stuff, right? Yeah, like this is ways like, okay, we never thought people would fly planes into buildings, but what did we just kind of commemorate about a month ago, right? It's asymmetrical. It's not what we've been conditioned to accept as traditional warfare, right?
Right. Yep.
So that's what's going on the outside. But we've got our own problems in-house too, right? Our house is a bit of a mess. And last week, as we were about to go live, we were just getting reports of a body being found in, I believe, a Utah national park, or was it Wyoming? I'm not entirely sure. But if you were following with the story, you know what I'm talking about. This was Gabrielle Petit. Or is it Petit?
Petito? Because there's an O at the. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know how to say it. But yes, we know who we're talking about. The TikTok girl who went missing, and her boyfriend is acting very shady. Blah 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 blah.
And now the Daily Beast is telling me I gotta subscribe because for some stupid reason. But yeah, I'm gonna go try to find that link really quick. But what the story went to highlight is that there have been, since 2010, over 70 indigenous women to the area. Now the area has a connection to large Indian reservations. I guess it's probably not the correct word, the Indian territories, but over 70 women since in 11 years have gone missing in the same general area that weren't white, blonde, cute, thin, attractive. Nobody got that kind of headline.
Nope. You know how many black trans women have been brutally murdered or gone missing in the last year or so, or in the last few years? It's a lot, if you look it up, by the way. Yeah, that was, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it that way until I saw somebody bring that up on social media, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. And it's funny that you brought up the indigenous women, because that was the first thing that Adrian brought up to me when I talked to her about it. She was like, yeah, there's indigenous women that go missing off of reservations, their own reservations. And nobody says a peep about it. It's, as she says here in the comments, infuriating. It really is. And
it kind of shows the dominance, unfortunately, of the patriarchy, right? That it's not important. And this is, again, it took a pretty white girl to kind of get the attention. And this wasn't even like, this is just because this was local to where they were. From what I gather of the story, they were Instagramming and doing a little bit of a cool tour of them going through the national parks in Utah, which some are vast. And this goes, it also touches our current issue with law enforcement, because clearly there was a situation, there's a police report. There was an
incident with him. Yeah.
And a police report. And again, the article is telling me that I can't read it anymore unless they want money. Apparently the police officer's own report stated that she was uncontrollably upset, couldn't stop crying, sobbing, and that screams fear. And he described a situation that she felt fearful. So their solution was to get them separate hotels at the same hotel for that night and basically wait for it to blow over. She's being irrational. And I've even heard like whispers of like she had some mental health issues. Bullshit. Bullshit. This again highlights the problem here that we, as a white male, get some really weird boundaries as far as what acceptable behavior in society compared to other people who don't look and sound like me and you, Ben, and a lot of us that are. So this situation is just another. It's the patriarchy. Oh gosh, it's the goddamn patriarchy, Ben. What are we supposed to do?
And it also speaks to police officer training and what they should be training on and what they aren't training on. There should be more training. I think we know more about domestic violence and some of the telltale signs. And Adrian makes a good point in the comments here. Women die when cops side with the abusers. That's really what happens. Yes, this is the point of defund the police, is to reimagine what the role of police is and also get them better training in the types of things that they are encountering on a day-to-day basis. They encounter domestic violence often. They encounter mental health crises often, but they don't have the proper training or the proper tools or the proper knowledge to handle those situations correctly, and it very often ends in tragedy. But like you said, would a black man in the same position have been awarded as much freedom as this fucking other guy if he was laughing and joking with the police officers, but this pretty white girl, the blonde white girl, was crying and terrified of him? Would he have gotten the same? Based on everything we know, you can't say with certainty, yes, that he would have been treated the same.
You're a betting man. What would you bet on?
Yeah, I would not bet on the fact that the black man would get treated the same. No fucking way.
And if that was a black man and a white woman?
Right.
Think about the calculations here. Black man, black woman, Hispanic or Mexican, Native American. Put all the permutations together in your head. And Rubik's Cube it however you want. Bozo Computer says only the white male gets away from that situation with a pat on the back and a hotel room.
And buying you a hotel room. The police spent money for a hotel room for a guy who would end up murdering that girl. I mean, we don't know, but all the evidence seems to point at this point that he had a hand in this girl's death one way or another. Accidental, on purpose, whatever. It seems fairly obvious that this dude had something to do with it. And these cops let it happen. It's that girl's blood is on those officers' hands. They should be held accountable, right? After the fact, they should be held. If I'm that girl's family, I am definitely looking for those officers to be held accountable for that.
And so let's peel that back too. And they shouldn't be, right? Because they shouldn't have been responding to that situation, because probably the last thing you want responding to a sensitive emotional crisis is people trained to use blunt force and adhere to the strict rule of law. You need people trained in those other areas. We've highlighted numerous stories on this show, and you see them percolate up in the news every once in a while too, about how they took some money away from the police department and funded a social worker response team. Somebody trained in mental health and crises management is tagged along with an officer to respond to those things.
New York City, I believe, was one of the places that have done it and have found great success in this. New York City is as big a fucking city as you can find in this country. So if it's working there, certainly it would work anywhere.
Again, one of those bigger arcing discussions that we have here on the show, and everybody's really, again, you need people trained to look for those clues. And Gigi's right. You just can't have a cop that's, golly, in the boys club. God, I hate to say that, but I've got folders of evidence that says some of the otherwise. Yeah. And are just like they've got something better to do, basically, is what they told this young lady. And that's why it became such an egregious thing to the rest of white America. Said, how could this happen? She was so pretty. She was so young. She had her whole life ahead of her. And meanwhile, like, yeah, as my Aunt Chris says, like, look what's happening in the South Side of Chicago with black females. So the selective eye of the overall media is almost the driving force behind like doing a podcast like this, so we can have conversations like that.
And it speaks to the mistrust that so many people have with the media, right? Because this is something that the media has done for decades. But since the internet has been around, you get this feedback from people that, hey, wait a minute, why don't we get that same sort of treatment? Where when before social media existed, it was just your community around you, your neighbors. You would bitch to your neighbors about it, but it didn't get out to a larger audience and a larger amount of people that you were pissed off about it. Now with the advent of social media, these things, the way media does things and the way that they report on things leads people down this path to not trust them. And I hate to bring other things in it, but it then leads to things like vaccine mistrust, election result fraud, mistrust, all the things that you hear from all the people that are super anti-media, and what that ultimately leads to in their brains. It's these types of things that lead to that point. It's these types of stories where you realize that the media has this thing that they call missing white girl syndrome, where it just matters when a white girl goes missing. It doesn't matter when any other race of woman, trans or otherwise, goes missing. Like, I read a story not long ago. The amount of trans women that go missing every year or are murdered every year is astonishing. It's astonishing if you looked up the numbers. Nobody gives a shit because they're trans women. They're not beautiful white girls that are on TikTok. It sucks. It's stupid.
It speaks to our collective unconscious and consciousness. We're not quite there yet, and we might, because we got iPhones, because we got Androids, and a beautiful house and car, and can tell Alexa to play our favorite Ghost song. We're not a pinnacle society. We have to figure out how to take care of each other. We're going to actually talk about that later. However, speaking of how do we take care of people, how do we fund these terrible like infrastructure bills that these crazy Democrats want to do? They want to build roads and have mandated childcare and affordable housing and education, and they want to feed and house and clothe everybody. How are you going to pay for that? That's the pushback, right? How are you going to pay for it? You're going to raise taxes. You're going to raise taxes, and you in the middle class, you're going to pay for it. Wait. That's not what it kind of says here in the fine print. But people get out ahead of it, right? You're going to see our good, fine fellows and on the other side of the aisle using fear to kind of like tell everybody that, oh, the big boogeyman of taxes are going to come to you, and like it's all going to trickle down to you. How are you going to pay for it? Well, there's an idea, and this has been proposed. There's a House bill that would blow up the massive IRAs of the super wealthy. Now, this is what we're talking about when they say tax the rich. We're going to get into this a little bit, because this isn't just like a handful of people. We're talking about a lot of people who are cheating. They are using loopholes in our tax system to hide their money untaxed, and something that was meant for us. This is from ProPublica. The proposed reform stems from a ProPublica story that detailed how PayPal founder and general asshat Peter Thiel has amassed $5 billion. Let's be very clear. That is billion with a B, tax-free in a Roth IRA. If the bill passes, Roth accounts would be capped at $20 million for high-income individuals. Legislation currently making its way through Congress would take a sledgehammer to the massive individual retirement accounts built up tax-free by a select group of the ultra-wealthy. The proposal, which is part of the infrastructure and tax package advancing in the House, targets the jaw dropping IRAs accumulated by multimillionaires and billionaires such as Peter Thiel, as was first reported by pat yourselves on the back. Thank you very much. The proposed reform put forward by House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal, Democrat of Massachusetts, would effectively cap the total amount somebody could put in a Roth IRA. That's the tax-free version of your retirement. All right. So like you could put money in there tax-free. That's they'll like before, if you get like a steady paycheck and you do this kind of thing, if you like put your pre-tax dollars in there, it's like a savings account. The only catch is they expect you to take it out when I believe you retire at 65. You could retire, I believe, at 63, but there's a penalty, but it's tax-free, but it's can't touch it until you turn a certain age. That's the gimmick, right?
Right.
It's kind of meant for us to, in lieu of like all of the pensions that were drying up everywhere. This was what was afforded to us as an alternative to that, right? So
the rich people took advantage of it.
Imagine that, because they have the time and the resources to hire accountants who will pour through that tax code and find these things. Hell, they even hire the people who wrote the tax code to come in and help them figure out how to skirt the tax code. And that's what we're talking about here, right? This is what we're trying to tax here, right? We're talking about billions of tax-free dollars that they can store away.
And it goes back to what we talked about last week when we're talking about Jeff Bezos and they're talking about the Democrats' bill where they're taxing income rather than wealth. This is the wealth that we're talking about that needs to be taxed properly. This, and also not allowing people to stash money overseas to avoid taxes. That's another thing that needs to get closed up and handled. And then you'd be surprised what we could afford if we did this and stop these rich people from stashing money in Switzerland and the Bahamas and all over the place. We would have more than enough money to pay for everything. There would be no more homeless people. We could end homelessness. We could end hunger if we wanted to.
So what's the pushback, right? Well, then those corporations and people are just going to take their money elsewhere. Wait,
where?
They're not already.
Right. And where? You lock up the ability to take it elsewhere. Where are they going to take it? They can't just bury it in their backyard. They're not going to bury billions of dollars in their yard. What are they going to do with it? They're going to fucking put it in the accounts that get taxed properly, and they're just going to live with it. Because they have to, because they have no other choice. But right now, we're allowing these fuckers to just stash wealth everywhere. And then Jeff Bezos says, well, I only get paid $81,000 a year. Well, I mean, that's what my pay is. So that's what you should tax me on.
Yeah,
no, dude, you made fucking billions during the pandemic.
He went to space on the salary of like a mid-level manager in some corporation.
Them. He had the balls to thank them.
Yeah.
And afterwards say, well, thank you to all the workers and people that have bought from Amazon. You allowed me to do this. Like spitting in our fucking faces, this guy.
People have died in that dude's warehouses. People have died in that dude's work environment that he created.
And I got pushback from people that, oh, well, he helps pay for people to get a different career. So, all the other bullshit that he does, that makes it okay. Because he throws people a couple of scraps to go find a different job. Man. He's a good guy because of that. No, man. He does that so people will get off his ass about all the fucking disgusting shit that he does.
Right, a pittance. Like what? Who cares? Who cares if the guy in the warehouse that he driving a forklift? That's all he wants to do. Cool.
People are pissing in bottles because they can't get a break that's long enough for them to go to the bathroom. How many small businesses have gone out of business because Amazon pushed them out of business by allowing them to sell their product on Amazon, and then realize once they see the numbers and see that product is selling, they have their creative, they put their R&R into creating the exact same thing for cheaper, and then they just put it on Amazon too, and they undercut you until you go out of business. You know how many fucking small businesses have been crushed by Jeff Bezos and Amazon?
Don't forget they do you twice dirty like that, because not only do they duplicate your hard work and sell it cheaper, but they use their algorithm that if you're looking for that product, it's theirs that pops up several times first, and you might not see it. It's faintly gray, almost as white as your screen, but it just says sponsored. Like
And then
that.
you get this argument that, oh, he worked for that money. He took the risks. No, he didn't. He started his business with a fucking loan from his parents. So he didn't start it from nothing. And he also didn't get as far as he got without the labor of other people helping him get to that point. Like you can't get as rich as Jeff Bezos without exploiting a ton of people that put their labor into your business.
And taxes. And all kinds of tax codes. And who cares? I don't care that you took a loan from your parents to start a business. Congratulations. Like, cool. They must have liked you.
You took
all
a
right.
risk. No, you didn't.
Yeah, well, in that regard too, but it doesn't exempt you because you've got some kind of like feel good story, or at least proposed feel good fantasy of how you started your billion-dollar empire, that you're exempt from paying taxes. That doesn't warm the cockles of my heart enough to lose billions of dollars in things that could be putting people to work, roads and high-speed rail. There was an Amtrak accident, I think, in the middle of Nebraska or one of the Dakotas. Yeah, like people died, and the rate of train accidents is very, very rare. Okay, very rare, despite the rail system being almost 200 years old in some parts, right? In some cases. Japan has had their high-speed bullet train system for 50 years. Now, this would be like the equivalent of being able to take a trip to Chicago to St. Louis, say, in like an hour and a half, because that thing's just cruising through. And I believe half their system in Japan is magnetic. You know how many fatal accidents they've had in 50 years of this high-speed train system?
If I were a betting man, and I am, I would say 0.
You would be correct, sir. So this is the type of infrastructure we're talking about. We should have a rail system that if you don't want to fly, you have a fear of flying, or it's cheaper, you want to be the scenic route.
The amount of fossil fuels that are used by airplanes would be reduced if people had the option to not fly.
Maybe we wouldn't have to take our shoes off to get on a train. I don't know. That's the type of stuff that we need. We need new schools. We just talked about it last week about ventilation and how important that is, and how it wasn't thought about when they built the schools and they built the roads, and because we weren't keen enough, we weren't aware enough. We studied things. Things have gotten better. We need to be able to tax these people for this wealth that is basically generated off the back of the populace. That shouldn't be treated the way it is. You shouldn't have to be put in these situations and be told that that's the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's the thing. We just have to have courage as a voting electorate to cast a vote towards the people that are saying these things and have a track record of doing these things. Don't just cast your vote for Lauren Boebert, who's got a history as a talent model. Go and do a little research. People when this country were founded couldn't research their candidates, because by the time the candidates were elected, 3 weeks later, the news rode on a horseback. and you can click a couple times and see if the person's legit, and you can back it up. There's research done on just about everybody, local or nationally. It's our responsibility. America. Speaking of things that blowing up, I know that was the headline of the last story. Well, this is stuff that can really blow up. Woo. And this was supposed to be a much more dramatic thing, because I had a video that I wanted to share, and obviously I don't know how to do that. So we're not going to be able to show this video right now. But they found an asteroid. If I said Chelyabinsk to you, would anybody know what I was talking about?
No.
So it was a town in Russia, right, that had an asteroid microburst, like an airburst, right? The asteroid approaches Earth, gets caught in the gravity of Earth. Asteroid enters atmosphere, becomes meteor, explodes because of the intense heat and pressure over a city or an area, doesn't impact the ground. And this is what happened. I'm losing the name of the forest right now in Russia too, but in Siberia, how that all the trees were flattened in a certain pattern. This is the type of in this town in Russia, there was an airburst in 2013.
I may have a way to play this video. It might be a little wonky, but I think I could play it if we need if it's worth it.
It's the Halloween asteroid.
Got it.
So
hold on here. Let me try something here. This is might be a little goofy at first, but I think it'll be worth it. Okay, so
behind the scenes stuff, folks.
can you guys give me a yes or a no if you guys could see this? But I think you can.
Oh, I can't hear it though.
No, can't hear it though.
Can't hear it. They can see it apparently. I can't hear it. I don't know if they can hear it, but
feedback. The chat. Oh boy, they can't hear. I guess.
So actually, don't move. Actually, that's actually the picture that I was like, I wanted to kind of like focus on. So what you're seeing right there on that screen is the Oort cloud, right? So it's the belt of asteroids that sits between Mars and Jupiter, right? That little elliptical that's moving to the bottom right is this asteroid that kind of got perturbed, got nudged a little out of the Oort cloud, and now has an odd elliptical orbit around the sun. This thing is going to be actually. The story is highlighting this particular asteroid. What the story was telling us in the beginning is that one that was golly, they tell me a size here, but now we're all flustered because of the technology, and I lost my little spot here. That this particular asteroid that we completely did not see until it passed was about 308 feet. All right. We didn't see it because it came from the direction of the sun, which is a big problem. We can't see things that, okay, makes sense, right? This thing was moving 53,281 miles per hour. For those of you counting at home, that's 15 miles a second. Second.
Now imagine that hits anywhere on this planet. We're fucked. We're long overdue. I've said this a million times, but for those of you that haven't heard me say it before, we are long overdue for a catastrophic event on this planet. Long overdue. One of these days, one of these fucking things is going to hit us and we're all fucked.
This isn't meant to like scare people. This is just letting people know this is the natural cycle of the hostile galactic environment and neighborhood that we're in. We have evidence. You look at the moon any night and you see the evidence of asteroid impacts, of meteor impacts. You see how big the craters are. We know about the dinosaurs. We talk about this show all the time about what Graham Hancock proposes and what some intruder from outer space came and wreaked havoc on the planet. Is it meant to scare anybody? Is it meant to cause like a doom-like scenario or throw your hands in the air? What am I supposed to do? We're supposed to think about ourselves as a collective, as a planet. We're supposed to be off of this planet or be able to provide safety for this planet. We're in a very special spot. If you believe in a deity or something that we're put here, maybe we should consider tending to the garden a little bit more than we possibly do.
Yeah, and Ryan Hansen points out Jupiter had an impact bigger than the size of Earth recently. What?
It is metal and hollow. I see now, Courtney, you're tickling a nostalgia spot in my heart as far as the old conspiracy theories. I take it back to the old Art Bell Coast to Coast show for that kind of stuff, man. I love that. Guilty pleasure. I'll sometimes just YouTube old Art Bell shows just to hear the crazy. No screener, live callers. All right.
That's dangerous.
Joseph from Poughkeepsie. Hello. And you can hear him like smoking cigarettes behind a microphone, taking this weird ass call from some dude in a payphone booth who's just rambling about like the, triangulations on his. Okay, I'm rambling. Speaking of rambling, let's catch up with what good old rambling Steve Bannon's been up to, shall we? Favorite of the show.
He's like a Muppet with alcoholism.
He looks like somebody who should be seating people at like a Jimmy Buffett restaurant, right? Like, my name's Steve.
Hey,
Come on, this is where you'll be sitting tonight. You're right by where Jimmy's coming out. I've teased this, and I didn't mean to tease it because there's been some weird reporting about it, and I don't want to like present it as fact or whatever, but like of the whispered things in the air about a war council that convened on January 5th, the night before the riots on the Capitol. And now information is starting to come to more mainstream news sources in a way that like kind of starting to validate some of the independent reporting that was previously that I was like hesitant to bring to you guys. Confirmed by his own mouth, Steve Bannon attended this war council.
No shit.
This is from Newsweek. Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon admitted on his War Room podcast that he had a hand in planning the rally for then President Donald Trump that preceded the riot on the Capitol on January 6th. Bannon played a clip of War Room from an MSNBC broadcast in which Washington Post journalist Robert Costa and Bob Woodward, who just released a book, Peril, discussed Bannon meeting up with Rudy Giuliani and other Trump allies the night before the insurrection. And the buried lead here in the story is the other Trump allies bit, because the son of the president of Brazil was rumored to have been there. Mike Flynn has been rumored to have been there. And favorite and fan of the show, Eric Prince, had possibly multiple representatives at this meeting. I believe also Seb Gorka was there. When you know about Seb, like, oh boy, that's a whole treasure trove of fun right there too. But here we have one man confirming not only that he was there, but that this thing existed. Think about the types of people we're talking about here and what their goals were, right? This is insane that he would even admit it, let alone like boast of it. And apparently, this is now from MSNBC.
Some of these quotes from Bannon are like he's saying the quiet part out loud.
This is from Costa on MSNBC. Now say what you will about the mainstream, but we know here we are. And Bannon had actually been in close touch with President Trump for days before January 6th. Based on our reporting, he privately told President Trump to this highlight, bold, italicize the following, quote, have a reckoning on January 6th. And he said to the president, it's time to kill the Biden presidency in the crib.
Which is outrageous, right? If he didn't say it. However, this motherfucker went on his podcast and was like, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yep, I had that conversation with him. Yep,
I was there. It happened. I was talking to him about this, to the guy who's saying, Trump, the guy who's saying to everybody, I had nothing to do with it. Here's somebody going, yeah, I was talking to this guy about this great thing. We're gonna storm the castle. We're gonna try to rape, pillage, and to burn up everything and stop the election and blah blah blah. And then Trump's good. I had nothing to do with it. Like, and there's another guy going, yeah, I was there. This is great.
It's crazy. This story says Bannon said on War Room, confirmed that he met with Trump and discussed how to quote kill the Biden presidency because of the supposed illegitimacy of now President Joe Biden's win over Trump in 2020, a claim that has been debunked multiple times. Quote, 42% of the American people think that Biden did not win the president legitimately, Bannon said. It killed itself, he continued. Just look at what this illegitimate regime is doing. It killed itself, okay? But we told you from the very beginning, just expose it. Just expose it. Never back down. Never give up. And this thing will implode. That is confirming everything about what we have been talking about on the show, which is there was a strategic meeting that was held, and given the advice of these people, Trump went out there and gave that speech with the idea of riling up that crowd and sending them down the street to charge on the Capitol. There's no other way to see this at this point.
No.
The guys involved are saying it's true. They're confirming it.
Let me ask you this. It's very apparent publicly known that you're a pro wrestling fan.
Yes.
I happen to have dabbled myself in the dark arts. If you were setting up, okay, let's just say like a little bit of the carny knowledge, right? Like back in the day before all the modern referees had earpieces and were getting kind of word from the back, right? There was an elaborate communication set up between referees in the ring, the officials and announcers sitting at ringside. And there used to be the old pencil thing, right? That if the timekeeper had his pencil up, that kind of meant what? It was 1 minute, it was time to go home, right? So these types of cues are known throughout history. And this is not new or anything to anybody. So if you had a group of people with nefarious connections and provable now connections to some of the groups that we know participated in the January 6th riots, like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all those other grand fellows and ladies, wouldn't you maybe be telling them, wait for the word? Wait for the president to say, I'm going to march with you. To know, like, okay, everything's in place. Here's the go word, right? Why else would this, like, why would all these people be meeting to discuss that? What are they discussing? They're talking about the thing that happened the day after. Yeah. It's conspiracy. It is treason.
And dude, it goes on. This story, I just saw this other quote here.
Oh, yeah.
Woodward reports in the book that Bannon convinced Trump to return to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. The day that the 2020 election win was to be certified by Congress. Quote, "You've got to return to Washington and make a dramatic return today," Bannon said to Trump, according to the book. "You've got to call Vice President Mike Pence off the fucking ski slopes and get him back here today. This is a crisis. People are going to go, what the fuck is going on here?" Bannon said to the looming election. "We're going to bury Biden on January 6th. Fucking bury him." That means that right there tells me he's all of this. He told him, this whole group of people told Trump, go to Washington, D.C., have this press conference, this whatever you call it, give all the dog whistles necessary to incite this crowd to go down the street and charge the Capitol and try to overturn the election results. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, they were there to kidnap Mike Pence and hang him on the steps of the Capitol. Some of those people that were there, that was what their goal was. That is what their intention was to storm the Capitol, kidnap the Vice President of the United States, and hang him on the steps of the Capitol.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I've got a fantastic memo that was crafted by attorneys, the White House Trump attorneys at the time. That was a 6-point memo describing how Trump could claim and take to court the illegitimacy of the Biden presidency. And yeah, Ryan Hansen, that was a story that came out a couple weeks ago, that the top general, General Miley, the chief of the military, right? Not chief of staff, he's the 5-star general of the Pentagon, had private conversations with his Chinese counterpart to say, hey, no matter how crazy this gets, just so you know, we're not launching nukes. To which his counterpart said, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? It's even a possibility?
Right.
What?
Right. So
don't worry about it.
This Miley guy obviously was in on meetings where he heard some crazy shit, because we've already heard, like, he shouted down Trump numerous times. Like, he was definitely the guy in the room that was not the yes man when it came to the people surrounding Trump. He was definitely the guy that was like, this is fucking nuts, and someone has to be the adult in the room. And he decided it's on him to be the adult in the room. He
was surrounded by them, and that was the promise and the lure of Trump, right? that he's going to get all these people in his administration around him, the McMasters and all the respected lawmakers and people with a reputation that we're going to contain him. We'll make sure he's going to blah, blah, blah. And all of those guys seem to have some ties to some kind of thing that made money once they got out of their situation. Whether or not they prevented World War III, 4, and 5, and 6, I don't know. But I know that they all landed cushy jobs or ended up getting some a very interesting luck in the stock market as far as betting on luck. Right. We're fast forward here because I know we're taking up people's precious time, and we thank you for joining us here. But I actually, Ben, I heard from our friend Tipton Moscow again.
He must have been so excited that you pulled his story and used it last week that he was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep contributing.
And he's tickled our sweet spot because he sent us a story from the BBC. And the headline is "Footprints in New Mexico are the oldest evidence of humans in the Americas." Let's do a little bit of a recall of what we were talking about earlier about intruders from space somehow impacting, or not necessarily impacting, the planet, but causing global disasters. When the topic of the continent was first settled from Asia, it's been a controversy for decades. Many researchers are skeptical of evidence for humans in the North American interior much earlier than 16,000 years ago. So basically, the accepted science and the establishment says that human beings weren't here any earlier than 16,000 years ago.
In North America.
North America. We should clarify North America, and that's like at the very end of that ice age too. Okay, let's just say that it was at the end of the last great ice age is what we're talking about, basically. Now, a team working in New Mexico has found scores of human footprints dated between 23,000 and 21,000 years ago. The discovery could transform views about when the continent was settled. It suggests that there could have been great migrations that we know nothing about. And it raises the possibility that these earlier populations have gone extinct. And what they found are these footprints that they've like dug through the strata and then how'd they get the dates? Or they radio carbon dated seeds from layers of the soil and the strata, both above and below these footprints. And the radiocarbon dating backs up the idea that they're as old as 21,000 to 23,000 years ago.
Every day, Graham Hancock gets proven more and more correct. Every fucking day.
And it's a great story because it does explain like some of the difficulties and issues as we, again, learn more and more about how big these ice sheets were. We're talking about ice sheets, a mountain of ice a mile high, right?
Too. Keep in mind, it happened in an instant.
These things sucked up all of the water, so that's the land bridge idea. But sometimes the land bridge idea doesn't make sense because there is so much of that part of Western Canada that should have been ice mountain that people should not have passed. There was no like conceivable way for them to get through this, right? So there were creeks and caverns and ravines, and who knows how many people died just like, hey, why don't we go left instead of right? All right. But
isn't it more possible that that these people were somehow related to the Mayans or the Aztecs?
I never hear the theory that the migration was from the south to the north.
But what we know about the Mayans and the Aztecs is that they were far more advanced than many other societies around the world at that time, which lends you to the idea that they were around for a long time in order to gain that knowledge. So it would stand to reason to me that if you're in New Mexico, it's not that far from the southern border, and those people would maybe it stands to reason that people would go, all right, let's try north. Let's move north and see what happens. And they got to New Mexico, and they maybe tried to go a little bit further north, and they realized snow sucks. And they were like, nope, that's too much. We'll go back down this way.
And it depends on food, scarcity of that, and water. If we're talking about nomadic people, then it was all about food, water, shelter, survival. So they followed like the migrations of herds around, right? What we're talking about, the Mayans, the Olmecs, the Incas, those they settled, and we're talking about cities that like 2, 3, 4, 500,000 people,
With
like
water.
roads, highways that connected cities to cities, like you're saying, water, like aqueducts that rivaled and even beat the famed Roman aqueducts. And why do we all know about the Roman aqueducts and not the Mayan ones? It's the color of my skin.
Exactly, because a bunch of Spaniards went there and destroyed everything.
In 500 years ago, we're talking the conquistadors were doing all their stuff in like 1500, 1514, like that kind of area. Like they wiped it all out. So these things were thriving civilizations, maybe not at their pinnacle, but certainly not at their lowest. That the conquistadors came in and just slaughtered and destroyed everything and took everything. Yep. It's always those damn Europeans.
Yep.
So actually, I'm good, proud to note that the article mentions the Clovis people, but Hancock says that the Clovis people aren't even like the thing. Like there was a pre-Clovis people. So again, as you said, one of Graham's favorite quotes: "Things just continue to get older." Let's turn to the ship a little bit here to a little more humorous, and nobody brings us humor to the show more than IFL Science.
Yes.
We're still trying to find our way into investing into this website because just the sheer volume of stories that we do from it, including this one. A poll shows the deadly animals Americans reckon they could take in unarmed combat.
This says so much about Americans, I'm sure.
Unsurprising to probably everybody listening, a whopping 76% of American males, not just American, I guess just men, and then 68% of females said they could take a rat.
By the way, also 12% of men think they could win a point in a tennis match against Serena Williams.
Right.
They are wrong. They are very fucking wrong. Just be clear.
We're gonna work our way up the list here, okay? 60% of men and 39% of women think they can take in a fist fight, in unarmed combat, a medium-sized dog. That number almost halves. 31% male, 15% female for a large dog. Funny enough, 38% of men think they can take an eagle. They can fight an eagle. Now, this might surprise you, but 23% of men think they can, in a bare-fisted fight, beat a king cobra.
What? Come on.
And I'm glad you have the screen up because 22% of men and 12% of women think they can fight and win against a chimpanzee. Now, Ben, if you scroll down just below that chart, there is a picture of a poor chimpanzee with alopecia.
Look at that.
If you think you could take that in an unarmed fight,
you're wrong.
You are wrong.
So fucking wrong.
You are
Look at
so
that thing.
wrong. That thing will
fucking kill you. It'll rip your goddamn face off.
That thing will play a version of soccer with your skull faster before you realize what happened.
Right. Crazy. How the wolf, 16% of men think that they could win a fight with a wolf? Are you fucking kidding me?
Think about that 9% of men that think they could fight and win against an elephant. When you could, the story actually describes that the elephant's skin is legitimately 1 inch thick. They often are 2 tons. This guy's thinking that he's going to fist fight a Ford F-350 or whatever the fuck it is and win. Not to be beaten out. 7% of men and 6% of women. To show you who's the smarter species here, it's almost at a draw. Think they can fight
here. More women than men think that they could win a fist fight with a lion. That's the only one that women are more than men.
You're actually correct there. Wow, look at that. Look at that data set right there. 8
That-
versus 7.
What? I'm sorry. Women are great, but not one of you could beat a lion in a fist fight. Not one.
There's
I don't
actually a
care who
video
you
down there.
Ronda
of
Rousey, Jessica Andrade. I don't care who you are. You're not beating a lion in a fist fight.
the only time you're going to win a fight against the lion or just about any one of these animals is if that animal is no longer interested in you. Otherwise, it's lights out and you're a meal.
Right.
That's the bottom line here. So yeah, that I wanted to end the segment with that. Hey folks, we're gonna really quick take a quick commercial break. I think we can do that. And thanks to our good friends at Deltex. I'm probably not even saying that correctly, but our sponsor doubled our contributions, $560 total going to the Cajun Navy on behalf of Topic Thunder. So we thank you again for that. A couple of words from our sponsor, and we're going to come back with. I think we're just going to do the lightning round and go home, Ben.
Fair enough. I see what you're doing there, and I like it. So we'll be right back.
Right on.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Oh yeah, folks, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. That super nice little like warm spot in your bed when you're falling asleep that you just don't want to. You just kind of drift off in that beautiful cocoon, and that beautiful cocoon is known as the lightning round, where I read you 3 headlines. You, the listening audience, step in. You know what? 3 stories enter, 1 story leaves. Ben, welcome to the lightning round here on Topic Thunder as my browser furiously tries to update these headlines here and these stories. But yes, it is. Look at those lightning bolts and a lightning in the chat rooms. Love the chat room. Thank you. Headline number 1. Man found asleep in a pile of chicken fingers and meth in Pleasant Grove days after getting out of jail.
Chicken fingers and meth would so be the show name.
Headline number 2, mother 34 who lost her eye to cancer can blow out candles through her empty socket.
Oh, God. I bet there's a video involved, and I have no interest in watching that. Guys, do not vote for that. I will throw up right live on the air.
And headline number 3, 3 shot at a Pennsylvania baby shower after argument over gifts, authorities say.
Wow.
Wait for the votes to come in here. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you're thinking about this,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and read the headlines one more time. Headline number 1, man found asleep in a pile of chicken fingers and meth. Headline number 2, mother 34 who lost her eye to cancer can blow out candles through her empty eye socket.
This is the most depressing lightning round ever, I think. Winner, chicken meth dinner.
And headline number 3, 3 shot at Pennsylvania baby shower after argument over gifts.
The winner here has to be number 1. I think we already have 2 votes. If I'm reading these correctly, both Courtney and Aunt Chris are voting for the chicken and meth story. I got to go with that. I'm not even going to beat around the bush here. That's the winner for me because I cannot possibly watch a woman blow out candles through her fucking eye hole. No.
It's
Ryan defying me is fucking voting for that. Billy Wax going with the pile of chicken fingers.
So I think we're it's
it's
5-1-1 right now. Okay, so 5-1-1 are the votes.
Yeah, Angela says chicken fingers is the least depressing of the 3. So.
Maybe, but you asked for it, so here it is. Man found asleep. Now, by the way, this is from CBS 42, posted on the 24th of this month by no relation, as far as I know, Tanner Brooks. Pleasant Grove, Alabama. Hours after getting out of jail, a man reportedly stole a car in Hueytown. Days later, he broke into a concession stand at the Pleasant Grove Athletic Complex and was found asleep in a pile of snacks and meth, police said. On September 17th, Matthew Williamson was released from Jefferson County Jail after being arrested in charge of breaking into a car and stealing property earlier that day. Police department reported that less than 2 hours after his release, Williamson went to Hueytown and stole a car. On Wednesday, the police received a report of someone breaking into their concession stand at the complex, where many snacks were taken. The next morning, Williamson was found asleep in the complex's press box, surrounded by piles of chicken fingers, chips, candy, and methamphetamine.
That sounds like that dude was having a good time.
He was 37, or still is apparently 37, reportedly admitted to stealing a car and burglarizing the concession stand. On Friday, he was taken back to Jefferson County Jail.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's but hours after getting out, hours, he steals into the car. If that doesn't tell you that the prison system isn't designed to reform these people, do you need further evidence at this point? It's not. Going to jail, it's not meant to reform these people. It's just to punish them and then put them back out in fucking society.
I applaud this man for his agenda. He wasted no time. Some people might want to go relax on the couch, see some friends, family, go with the or whatever. No. Oh, no.
I need to steal a car now.
He needed to sleep with some nuggets. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it. I don't know. I think we've hit all fields on this one.
We started a little late tonight, but I think we really hit our stride there about halfway through.
Sorry about the delay, ladies and gentlemen. Technology issues always abound here, and we're blaming Russia officially, and we'll have a press release tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. This was topic, I think, 43 by our count here, and never a dull moment. So thanks for listening. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Check out the Instagram page. It's Topic Thunder Podcast. We post weird stuff and updates about the show and link trees where you could have donated to a worthy charity, $560 at the Cajun Navy. And thanks to Hayden. Thank you so much for that generous donation. It's very, very cool of you. Appreciate it. And with all of you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for everything, all of the patronage and the contributions. Have a good night.
Craig Pitbull Pittman says, "We out."